this summer, I was on my way to work and I saw a man walking. I stopped to offer him a ride home. When we got to talking, I learned that he was actually a local middle school teacher. He had decided to take a break during COVID and started working at a local restaurant where he's able to create using the culinary degree that he had received before he obtained his master's in education. This is something I do as often as I can, and I don't really like talking about it because I don't want praise or recognition for it. I just want to make the world a little bit better as much as I can. And this is what being a humanitarian is about. It's about doing things that promote the happiness and well-being of all other humans. A lot of people think that in order to be a humanitarian, you have to have enough money and time to donate to a cause, but that's not the case all the time. Today, I'd like to talk to you about a few ways that you can be a humanitarian without donating time or money, which are both already scarce enough as it is. There are many ways to be a humanitarian at home. By changing the way you see others and yourself, you might find that you enjoy performing random acts of kindness, providing information that might be helpful to people in need, and doing other things that better the world and help the people in it. A lot of people will say that they can't stand people. I've been guilty of doing that, and I'm sure some of you have as well. But in order to have a true humanitarian attitude, you have to be able to view others in a more positive way. And it can be difficult to do this, but I found the best way to do that is by changing the way you see yourself. It's really easy for us to view ourselves as our flaws rather than seeing our flaws as a part of who we are. One way that we can do this is to make a list of our positive and negative qualities. And that opens the door for a more constructive inner dialogue and lets us kind of break down where we're being too hard on ourselves and what we might actually need to change so that we like ourselves more. Another thing that gets in the way of us seeing humans in a good way is that we compare ourselves to them. If someone has a quality or a flaw that you don't have, it's easy to become subconsciously judgmental toward that person and maybe even think that we're better than them. On the other hand, if someone does something better than we do, we might start to doubt our own abilities and maybe even become resentful of that person. The best way that I've found to combat this type of thinking is to try to view humans as unique individuals with their own individual flaws. We can see there that they're not better than or worse than we are, they're just different. And I know that's cliche, but it's true. To really have a humanitarian attitude towards people, the necessary thing to do is to view humans as being something worth protecting. Having a better mindset of others is the key to really starting to make a humanitarian effort to better the world. Once you've started to shift your perspectives on others, the next thing that you do is start to put those thoughts into action. One great way to do this is to perform random acts of kindness. A motivational speaker came to my elementary school and they said something that has always stuck with me. It was something to the effect of, if you just smile at another person in passing, it can really change the course of their lives. You never know what kind of help they need at that moment. And sometimes just that recognition and having someone acknowledge them with a kind face and a kind manner can really just change their entire outlook, because it could be that they just really needed to be seen at that moment. Another thing that we can do to help people in need is to start a conversation with a stranger, maybe a homeless person outside a gas station or somebody in class who looks to be upset. Doing this gives them an opportunity to share their story, even though you may not be able to help them directly, and that helps them to feel a little bit less invisible to society. Of course, you have to exercise caution when you do this, but usually if it's in a public place with a lot of foot traffic, it's pretty safe. But it's not just that. It's holding the door for strangers. It's helping an elderly person carry their groceries to their car. There are many ways to perform random acts of kindness, which are a humanitarian effort that really inspire other people to do the same, which creates a cycle of kindness that spreads beyond you. And these random acts of kindness take no time to perform, very little, and no money to do at all. Another thing that we can do to really be a humanitarian at home is to learn information about local groups who provide help to people in need and the services that they provide. I would start with that, with checking about local food pantries or soup kitchens, or finding out information about places that do rental or bill assistance, or have holiday food, toy, and clothing drives. A good place to find information about these programs in your area would be to go to your local Department of Human Services, to churches who often do these things, and to the courthouse. Providing these services is a good way to directly help people who need the help. And it doesn't cost money to do this. It takes very little time, but it can be really helpful to society. Making a humanitarian effort to help people and better the world is a very rewarding feeling. It may not cost a dime or take up any time, but it might take going outside your comfort zone and talking to someone you don't know, or doing something other people may not do, like keeping the phone numbers on hand of local aid agencies. Seeing people in a good light is a good way to do this, because you can really never know what someone is going through unless you take the effort to find out. Many people who know that I often serve as a free taxi to strangers say the exact same thing to me, that I'm stupid and I need to be more careful. But when they imagine the people that I help, they don't see someone who perhaps has a master's degree but is just going through a hard time. And that's why it is really important to change your perception of people. I did what I did when I picked him up in an effort to do a kind thing for somebody. And honestly, I'm really glad that I did, because a few months later, that random side of the road stranger and I are actually dating, and it's going really well. I don't know if it was fate or karma or just random chance that we were there at the same time, but I do know that had I not done something kind for another person, I could have missed out on something wonderful. If you're willing to just spread a little bit of kindness into the universe, there's no telling what amazing things could happen to you in return. Are you brave enough to find out?